Hello and welcome to the latest episode of the Shaw Local Bears Insider Podcast. I am Chicago Bears beat reporter Michael Dwojak here with the Northwest Herald's Joe Aguilar as we are joining you guys on Monday afternoon. It is the lunchtime live stream. We've got some big stuff to talk about after another thrilling Bears win, 31-28 against the Pittsburgh Steelers on Sunday. Joe, the Bears found another way to win. This time, it seems like with a depleted defense that, you're getting a lot of production from guys that we probably didn't think we're going to get a lot of production from. But at the end of the day, the Bears defense holds strong. Caleb Williams and the offense puts up 31 points, and the Bears are 8-3 entering their big Black Friday game against the Philadelphia Eagles on Friday.
Crazy again, right? The cardiac Bears deliver again. Didn't need a last-second field goal. Didn't need a field goal game again. And like a lot of people, I'm probably been learning how to pronounce the name Amen Agbangbamiga, if I got it right, Michael.
That's pretty good. I like that. That's pretty good.
That's a mouthful. But he was a good story yesterday. So was DeMarco Jackson, as it turned out. It's funny because, and by the way, you called it again. You said your surprise prediction would be that Aaron Rodgers would not play. And sure enough, they announced it about 90 minutes before kickoff that he wasn't going to play, which was too bad. And, it's one of those games where you look and say, well, if Aaron Rodgers is playing, the Steelers probably win that game. But then again, if the Bears didn't have 24 injuries on defense, maybe they win the game anyway. So, as Ben Johnson has said, you never apologize for a victory. And the Bears just, again, even when they don't look good in the fourth quarter sometimes, they figure out how to win the game.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, any team can play the what-if game, right? Like, if they have this star person back, like, every team is injured at this point. Every team is dealing with critical injuries at different points of the season. So, I mean, I think at this point, I feel like we've gotten to the point where, Joe, I feel like, listen, like, at this point, I'm kind of the mindset of, like, this team is 8-3. Like, does it look perfect every single week? No. Obviously, it doesn't. You can nitpick on them, but I mean, at this point, they're 8-3. They're the number 3 seed in the playoffs. I don't think either one of us, I don't think any Bear fan, no matter how optimistic they were heading into the season with Caleb Williams and Ben Johnson, could have envisioned that this team would be 8-3 heading into this matchup against the Eagles. So, I've kind of the mindset now where it's kind of like, all right, like, it doesn't have to look pretty. That's just life in the NFL. But the Bears are continuously just finding ways to win games that they're supposed to win, right? Like, they beat the Giants, which they're supposed to do. They beat the Vikings. They beat the Steelers. Those are games that I think you and I both agreed were games that we felt that they should win. Did it look the way we expected it to? No. But at this point, I don't think it really matters. At this point, you're just trying to find a way to win, and that's kind of emphasizing what Ben Johnson of Caleb said, on Sunday after the game. Like, they're not going to apologize for a win, like you said. It's hard to win in this NFL. You saw, obviously, with the Cowboys and the Eagles, anything can happen every single week. And I think it's just impressive to see that this Bears team just continuously, no matter what it deals with, continues to find ways to win.
Yeah, I mean, and if you look around the league, all 32 teams have issues. Maybe not the Rams or the Patriots because they seem to be looking really good. Maybe a couple of other exceptions, but every team seems to have problems every week or struggles. So, yeah, it's not to be too cliche, but it's a long season. It's a marathon, not a sprint kind of thing. And if we're going to go by you are what your record says it is, well, the Bears are 8-3. So they're figuring it out every week. And who knows, maybe they'll just soar past the magical 10-win mark. Not to get too far ahead, but we'll get to that at some point later, if not later in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, Robert chiming in. Great to hear from you, Robert. That game sealed it for me that we've got our hands on an incredible head coach. And yep. I kind of said that. I can't remember whether it was the last week or 2 weeks ago, but if there's anything that I've learned about this Bears team this season is that they got the head coach right. Like, I think, you can make the argument, obviously, that Mike Vrabel's also a very great coach, but it's the very situation where there were 2 great coaches available for hiring, right? And the Bears got one of them. And,
yes.
You can go on and about which would Mike Vrabel have the same amount of success and all that kind of stuff? It doesn't really matter at this point. Ben Johnson's here, and he's shown you that he's not only an offensive mastermind, he's not only a great play caller, but he's able to bring the most out of his team. He talked earlier on Monday today about how, the veterans have really helped this culture and bought into a system. But, it's just, for the most part, outside of like Grady Jarrett, like it's the same veterans from last year's team that, went 5-12, right? So there has to be something different here. I'm sure, he does give credit to the veterans buying in. That's usually how it kind of starts. Like it takes those veterans to buy in to a new head coach, to buy into what he's selling. But I agree with Robert. It's kind of what I kind of thought a couple weeks ago, where I don't think if it's like a prisoner of the moment thing, I do think that this won't be like a Matt Nagy thing, a Brian Daboll thing, where I think in a year or two, will they have won a Super Bowl? I'm not going to go that far to promise you that, but I do think that we aren't going to have the same conversation about the Bears head coach, where we're like, it was a 1-year fluke. Everyone caught up to him, and this whole kind of, good, better, best thing kind of got stale quickly.
Yeah. And you look, even go back to the preseason, we've been saying it really since then. You're not seeing the boneheaded coaching mistakes, mismanagement of the clock at the end of a half, whether it's the first half or the end of the game. We're not seeing timeouts burned after a timeout or a stoppage, a TV timeout or something. We're not seeing any of that. We're not seeing a team that's underachieving. So, I mean, you look at this roster, and again, I kind of started it a little bit last week, like with the way too early Pro Bowl team, who's going to make the Pro Bowl. I don't know if the Bears are going to have a ton of guys. I mean, there's not like a ton of guys who are just stat freaks, other than the secondary guy, Byard and Edmonds, and now he's out, with the picks. But other than that, so I mean, you're getting the most out of this team. And again, like you said, every team's banged up come this far in the season, come Thanksgiving. But the Bears have had so many injuries on defense. It's just silly amount. And that they are where they are is because of the coaching staff. And even offense, we're not seeing, we're seeing a creative offensive play. We've talked about the quarterback, how, he's been inconsistent. And so they're doing that all while the quarterback is still figuring things out. And he's obviously, like any team, going to be your most important player.
All right, guys, if you're joining us in a live stream, thank you so much for joining us. Make sure you give us a like and subscribe. That's the best way to support us. If you're joining us on Facebook, do the same, and head on over to YouTube too. Drop your comments in there so we can answer some of your comments or questions. If you're listening on the podcast, make sure you give us a like there as well. We really appreciate it. Wherever you listen to podcasts, make sure you subscribe. And if you want to be part of the live stream conversation, make sure you check out our social medias. I know we're doing this at noon on Monday. This week is just going to be discombobulated a little bit here with the holiday week, the quick turnaround. So make sure you're following our social medias so you guys know when we're going to be doing our live streams. All right, let's get things started here, Joe. Every game, day after a game, we like to do our 3 winners or 3 losers, things that worked well, things that didn't work well. I'll let you start here, Joe. Since it's a win, let's start off with your number 1 winner from Sunday's win against the Steelers.
Well, I don't know if he was the biggest winner from yesterday, but I didn't mention him in my story last night. You know how it is. You're trying to finish it before the game ends kind of thing. But I'm going to give a little shout out to Ozzie Trapillo. Again, was he the biggest factor in the game yesterday? No. But for a guy who got a start when we didn't think he'd be playing because, Theo Benedict had pretty much secured the left tackle job for now anyway. But Ozzie came in, and the best thing about Ozzie yesterday was we didn't hear his name called, right? No false starts, no holding. I think he allowed 1 pressure for a guy who was, they said, well, he's probably better at right tackle and he's not a left tackle. He had to play left tackle yesterday, and he was not noticeable, which is always probably the best compliment you can give to an offensive lineman, unless he's pancaking guys all day. He wasn't doing any of that. But for playing left tackle, the most important position on the offensive line, kudos to him. And, that's a team, Pittsburgh, that, I was scared about their blitzing, and the future Hall of Famers showed why he is going to the Hall of Fame, TJ Watt, when he ragdolled Caleb on that one play that resulted in a touchdown. But Ozzie Trapillo, good job. Now, will he play again Friday against Philly if Theo's ready? I don't know, but that was a nice performance from a guy. And thank goodness we're not talking today about, oh, my gosh, the left tackle kept getting blown up yesterday, and that's why they lost the game.
Yeah, I agree. Theo Bennett had that quad injury. I was a little, I don't feel like we talked about it too much on Friday. Just obviously we didn't know what the game status of it was. But when he was listed as questionable, I was kind of like, all right, like maybe Ozzie does get his first career start. And I agree with what you said. Ozzie stepped in and you barely noticed him, which is a complete, a great compliment to him. He earned his first career start. He allowed only one pressure in the game, or in one quarterback hurry. And according to Pro Football Focus, he had the 8th highest pass blocking grade amongst all offensive linemen. And obviously, we still need to play one more game tonight on Monday night. But he graded out an 84.6. That's exactly what you wanted to see. That's what you wanted to see from your second round pick. And that's kind of what we didn't see early on, right? Obviously in training camp when he was kind of getting handled pretty easily. And then the Bears saw that they had to move him over. So, you got to give Ozzie a lot of credit for how he handled everything, from he's a leader in the left tackle competition to he's falling behind and then he's thrown to the backup right tackle spot. And then he has to go in at right tackle when Darnell Wright gets injured against the Cowboys. And then, he's back at the left side when Theo gets injured. Like, that's just a lot of credit to the rookie for being prepared for whatever like he's going to have to face. And we can get into the old argument about, do you keep Ozzie there? I think the Bears at this point will probably stick with Theo because, I know Theo, obviously he has a lot to be desired pass blocking wise. I think run blocking wise, he's done really well right now. But listen, I wouldn't be surprised if this is a glimpse of the Bears' future offensive line for next season where Ozzie has an entire offseason to work at the left tackle spot. You put him there at left tackle. You obviously have the rest of the guys who are doing great right now. So, we'll see what it looks like. We'll see how Theo kind of looks like coming back from a short week, but you have to be really encouraged by what you saw from Ozzie Trapillo, not only just for Sunday and for the season, but what it could potentially mean for the rest of his career or in the next couple of years here, at least with this offensive line.
Yeah, I totally 100%. And again, he looks the part. I'm right. He's like almost 6'9", Michael.
He's huge.
I mean, so I hope it works out because otherwise, as I've mentioned before on one of our podcasts going back a few weeks here, is that you can't miss this pick here. You can't miss this second round pick where you don't draft a guy in the second round to be a backup right tackle. And if your other right tackle who's playing really good now we're really, Darnell Wright's having the best year of his young career. If he solidified at right tackle, then what'd you do here with Ozzie? Did you blow this pick if he can't play left tackle like you thought he could at the beginning of the season? So maybe the narrative is changing here. Not to get too carried away with one game, but certainly that was encouraging, if nothing else. And I think that kid probably needed it too, because I don't know what he's thinking, right? Like where am I on this team? Like, what's my role if I'm not going to be a left tackle? I'm not going to, push Darnell Wright out of a job. So it was encouraging. We'll take it and move forward.
I'll piggyback off of Ozzie for my first and I'll go with the whole offensive line. Caleb had only one quarterback hit against him once. I thought the Steelers actually did a really good job of containing Caleb. They didn't really let him run. Obviously they made, I think Mike Tomlin made it a point where he was kind of like, I'm not going to let him beat us with his legs. Like he's going to have to beat us with his arms. And the strip, strip sack that, like you mentioned, and we're definitely going to talk about that later in the podcast, but that strip sack was not the offensive line's fault. Sure, they got some pressure on Caleb, but Caleb should have thrown that ball away. There's no reason for him to at all hold on to that ball and try to make a play at that. But listen, this offensive line has just become one of the best in the whole league, and you saw that once again. Chicago, the Bears had the 3rd highest pass blocking grade according to PFF at a 71.9. They have the 5th highest run blocking grade, which is a 75.7. Caleb has all the time in the world to throw. And now it's something that Bears fans have been looking for forever, right? Like Justin Fields can't develop because he's on the run. Mitch Trubisky can't develop because he's on the run. Jay Cutler is being sacked the entire time. Like this has been a long time struggle, right? And the Bears now I don't think it's dramatic to say that the Bears have one of the best offensive lines in the NFL. The way that this group has gelled, and I'm sure at the beginning of the year, you and I kind of gave some context of like, well, you've got 3 new guys in there and they're dealing with the new coaching staff. It's not going to look perfect the first 4 weeks of the season, right? But I really think since that bye week, this group has really figured it out. The run blocking has been phenomenal. It's led to great performances, and the pass blocking has been really solid as well. So I feel like we haven't talked about it too much. Obviously, there have been other stuff going on in these dramatic wins, but this offensive line, Joe, has taken an astronomical leap this year to becoming one of the best in the entire NFL.
Well said. This might be the most surprising, it's got to be the most surprising aspect of this football team this year. Like you said, I mean, going back to Cutler, to Trubisky, to Justin Fields, to Caleb last year, and all the sacks he took. What a wreck. We can't figure this offensive line. One guy goes down, and then we got to throw in Ryan Bates or some other guy, and then that guy can't play or he gets hurt, and it's just a constant mess. Tevin Jenkins, for all the potential in the world, just could not stay on the field. Every week, it seemed like, I bet you and Sean were talking about it ad nauseum last year about the offensive line.
Right.
And this year, like I said, since the bye week, they have figured it out. Knock on wood, they've been healthy. But even that, Jonah Jackson goes out a little bit yesterday. Remember, he was shaky at the beginning of the year a little bit with false starts and all that. And then Luke Newman comes in, and Luke, you don't even miss a beat. And I think it was one of the players, maybe it was DeMarco Jackson. You talked to him after the game yesterday. Maybe it was him talking about organizational depth or just about how this coaching staff has done a good job of getting all the second string guys, the third string guys prepared to play every week. And I don't think that's cliche. I think the proof here is in the pudding. The proof is with the results on the field. You look at the JV Bears defense yesterday, and I know they were playing a JV quarterback, basically in Mason Rudolph, but the way they held up, even the offensive line, I mean, you look at, some of the special teams guys they go on. Are you worried about the running back position because you don't think you got a number one guy? Monangai has proven to be really good, better than I thought he would be. Kudos to him for the year he's put together for a 7th round pick. So all of that matters. And the offensive line, it's like, let's say, knock on wood, again, a guy goes out. You got depth. What? The Bears never have had depth on the offensive line because either they haven't been good or the guys can't stay healthy. But the offensive line, to say they're one of the best offensive lines of football, I don't think that's an exaggeration. I mean, and if you look at all the stats, and I can't break down all the metrics they use for old linemen. I probably couldn't understand it anyway if I tried. But they have given Caleb all the time in the world to throw, really all season. And the run game has been much better than anyone's anticipated all season.
It's exactly what you looked for because obviously this season has been Caleb, right? Like, what do you have in Caleb? Is he able to be the quarterback? And he's gotten the opportunity to do that this season, right? He hasn't been pressured. He hasn't been sacked 68 times like he was last year. This year, like most, if not all of what Caleb does is because of Caleb. He's getting the protection. Sure, he's getting some drops or whatever from time to time and that kind of stuff. But Ben Johnson is getting a good look into who Caleb Williams is as a quarterback. And a big part of that is because the offensive line is keeping him upright and giving him plenty of protection. All right, Joe, who is your second winner from yesterday's win?
Well, I'll go with Montez Sweat. He was my MVP 2 weeks ago. It didn't pan out. By the way, I used to jinx DeAndre Swift, who's been so good. And then yesterday he did nothing, fumbled. Like, what happened? But Montez Sweat, right, is an obvious one. Finally got that 2-sack game. Should have had a third. We let Mason Rudolph escape that one play in the third quarter, maybe it was the fourth, where he tried to throw him to the ground. He had him, and Montez normally finishes the play there, but he didn't on that time. But that said, I mean, the trifecta, right, with the sack, forced fumble, and the fumble recovery on the one play, which was absolutely huge. I think that led to the Monangai touchdown, I believe.
Yeah.
Right. But Montez, that's a game because, I watch other football games, Michael, and I see when teams are able to get to the quarterback, there's always the guys penetrating the guards, the center up the middle, getting a rush. Bears get none of that. their interior guys, I mean, there's no rush there's no pressure coming from inside the guards for the opponent when you're watching the Bears defense. So Montez, again, he's not getting really any help. But his plays yesterday, I mean, you see how, look, we know this as football fans. We know how big sacks can impact the game. And I know some D coordinators will say, it's not necessarily a sack, it's getting pressure on the quarterback getting hits. Sacks matter. Sacks matter in this league. Negative plays for 7, 8, 10, 12 yards, they matter. And Montez was able to do that twice yesterday. And I mean, just how it helps you on the field position wise, but just the energy your team gets off it, the crowd feeds off it, and Montez delivered that yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, Montez has been on a tear here since the bye week, and Ben Johnson kind of talked about it yesterday, and he was kind of like, I just think he's kind of coming into his own at this point. It wasn't something that they worked on over the bye week or anything like that. I just think it's finally clicking for him. I mean, you mentioned the strip sack. He had another sack. He had 3 tackles for loss, the forced fumble. That's how you make an impact in a game. It's not only just the sacks. It's the tackles for loss where you're meeting the guy and you're stopping him from getting any sort of production or positive yardage. So I agree. At this point, it's the lone bright spot, for this Bears pass rush. I just, with how injury depleted are, I shouldn't say that. Grady Jarrett had a good game. He had a big pass block at the line of scrimmage toward the end of the game to kind of help seal the win. But the way that Montez Sweat has played this week without much support around him, you have to be really encouraged by that and what that could potentially mean here during a playoff run heading into the final 6 games of the season. All right, my second winner is going to be a duo one. It's both DeMarco Jackson and Amin Agbabiga. Listen, you and I were kind of like, what are the Bears going to do? Like if they don't play all 3 of their starting offensive linemen, and that's what happened. And DeMarco Jackson took over as the Mike. He wore the green dot. It's just the second time in his career that he's worn the green dot. And for those of you at home who don't know, that's the green dot is the helmet that has the headset that hears what Dennis Allen is calling. And DeMarco Jackson talked about it, about how he worked throughout the week about play calling, yelling it out, make sure he's communicating. He talked after practices with the safeties and the D linemen, and were like, hey, did you like the way I was communicating this? Is there something I can do? Like, DeMarco Jackson made the most of his first opportunity, his first career start, and you saw that. And Amin did the same thing. He was disappointed because he thought he had earned a start with all the different guys got out there, but Ruben Hippolyte got the weak side linebacker start as their 4th-round rookie. And once Ruben got hurt early in that game, Amin stepped up and he had a lot of bunch plays. He was in on that 4th down stop when the Steelers tried to do this, the tush push. He was in there with Nahshon Wright to pick up the tackle and to stop them from picking up that first down. So, for Amin, he was holding back emotions and that sort of stuff. It's been a tough, road for him. He had a lot of injuries this year. He was on IR. He was dealing a bunch of injuries, then he doesn't get the start. So for both DeMarco and Amin, I mean, that's just kind of the reason why you love football, right? Like, you got different guys step up in different moments. Obviously, they were going to lead the team in tackles because that's just what the linebacker position is. But it wasn't just leading in tackles. It was, Jackson, his play calling, the way he was effectively doing it to lead the defense, and for Amin to make a couple critical tackles at that weak side spot. That just speaks volumes about those guys being ready for their moment, and also the coaching staff for game, they're ready for that moment.
Yes. It's funny because of my 3 and Out, which is at shawlocal.com, our Bears Insider. I actually had those 3 things that didn't work. That was one of the things that didn't work, understandably. But as the game progressed, those guys stuck with it. Like you said, I mean, when you look at what the Steelers were doing, a lot of short passes, a lot of nickel and diming. They weren't throwing the ball long at all, especially after our guy Nahshon Wright made another interception early in the game. So the tackles were there to be made. The defense didn't get off the field soon enough, and that's why you had such high tackles numbers. If you're really great defensively, right, there's not a lot of tackles being made. It's 3 and out, maybe a first down, 3 and out. But that said, I am not taking – I don't want to discredit anything Jackson and Bamiga did yesterday, because that was a great story about these two guys getting an opportunity. They weren't even second on the depth chart. They're like third or fourth. Like you mentioned, the injuries and just these guys weren't expected to contribute to an NFL team this year. They got an opportunity yesterday, and both guys played like professional football players. And that's saying something, because it doesn't always happen that way. And being prepared for the moment, because that's tough. But you can say it in any phase of life, whatever you do for a living professionally. Be ready, because that guy might not be ready to go today. Oh, okay. Well, okay, it's today. Are you ready? Man, I don't think I am ready. Well, that's on you then. These guys were ready yesterday, and they didn't embarrass themselves. They didn't give up any bad plays. They weren't, Noah Sewell, how many tackles that kid missed this year? They were playing behind him, and these guys played well yesterday. I didn't see any bad from them, really. Maybe were they great? No. Are they going to take anyone's job when everyone's healthy, if that ever gets to the case, to the point this season? No. But it's nice to know that you can play both of these guys at key positions, and you won a football game, and they were part of the reason why you won a football game.
Yeah, and I'm going to hit on that in my story here this afternoon about that. That's also the coaching staff, just getting the guys ready. Like, no matter who you are, like you mentioned earlier, whether you're Luke Newman, Ozzie Trapillo, you're Amon, you're DeMarco Jackson, you're Ruben Hippolyte, like these guys are stepping up in different scenarios, and that's a credit to the coaching staff, because they're getting them ready, right? Like, sure, I'm not trying to take anything away from the players. It's up to the players to be ready to play the game, right? Like, the coaches can't go out there and play games. But a lot of the times you do see maybe you focus too much on the starters. And when someone does come in, it's just like, oh, I don't know how to put them in the best spot to succeed. Or I'm not really sure how I can use that person. Well, this coaching staff does a good job where they don't just evaluate what the starters can do, but they know what what his strengths are and where can I put him to succeed. That's a big credit to Dennis Allen, right, to be able to do that with those guys. So that you just have to be so happy if you're a Bears fan about what this says about the guys buying into Ben Johnson's system, but also the coaching staff, because it could easily be like, whoa, woe is me. We're injured. We're dealing with all these injuries. We're without 6 defensive starters in our secondary and our linebacker, but in our linebacking core, but that really didn't make a difference. So that's a big kudos to the players, but also to the coaches for me. All right, Joe, final winner from yesterday's game.
For me, a couple ways to go. I'll go with Nahshon Wright again. I mean, that interception, man, early in the game.
Not many players can make that interception.
No, over DK Metcalf. He's all body team, DK Metcalf. And Nahshon to go up high, get both feet in bounds, showing off wide receiver skills, and his 5th interception. I mean, this guy
for the league lead with Kevin Byard.
Unbelievable. And they mentioned it a couple of times during the broadcast, like, boy, he's going to get paid next year now. He was on a 1-year deal with the Bears. They'll deal with that later. There's a long time to think about that. But that was a big play. I mean, if they complete that, it's early in the game, you never know. And then not only that interception, Michael had another pass breakup. He had some, I don't know what the final numbers were. I think he had some tackles for loss, but he was like making plays. And you can just see almost like the confidence in this young man growing. And why wouldn't it be, right? But when you look at the secondary, we've talked about it so much, all the injuries going back to camp. Where was this guy? And I remember some stories early in preseason, like, oh, he's looking pretty good. Nahshon Wright. I'm like, come on, guys. This guy's a journeyman. And I know you got to write about something every day, but like, they're not going to get anything out of this guy. If this guy has to play a lot, he's going to be totally exposed. And he hasn't been. He hasn't been perfect this year. I'm not saying he's playing at a Pro Bowl level,
sure,
but unbelievable. One of the best stories of the year is Nahshon Wright here.
Listen, Ryan Poles, Ben Johnson, they took a flyer on Nahshon, right? Like, Al Harris had a history with him in Dallas. The Vikings were like not interested in keeping him. It didn't work out with him last year after they traded for him in the second half of the season. And, the Bears were like, all right, like, we'll give you a shot. Like, we've got Jalen Johnson, we got Tyreek Stevenson. You would be a good depth piece. And I don't think they could have envisioned what they've gotten out of Nahshon Wright this year. A league leading 5 interceptions. Him and Kevin Byard have a bet going on now about who's going to, beat each other, which is, again, another insane thing to say that the two Bears are leading the league in interceptions. But these are just plays where it's just they're not fluky interceptions. I think maybe there was one interception where Joe Flacco threw it up and, Nahshon picked it up at the end of that Bengals game where you're kind of like, all right, that's just a duck snort interception. But what he did on Sunday against DK Metcalf, what he did the week before against Jordan Addison against the Vikings, those are legit interceptions that I don't think many cornerbacks can make because Nahshon's lanky and long, right? So that's such a credit to who he is and the work that he's put in the coaching staff, right? And, Ben Johnson was asked today, what do you do with Nahshon, right? If assuming that Jalen Johnson and Kyler Gordon come back for Friday's game against the Eagles, what do you do with him? And Ben just kind of smiled and was like, he'll have a position. They're not going to get rid of Nahshon Wright in this lineup. I don't know whether that means, I know Tyreek Stevenson is dealing with a hip injury, so maybe he just slots over there. But I don't think no matter how healthy you are, there's no way that you take Nahshon out of this lineup. I know that he can be a liability sometimes. I know sometimes, teams pick on him. He has a huge target rate and that sort of stuff. But I think that when he is targeted and teams try to kind of bully him, he kind of hits back at them.
Well, you know what? And understandably, teams have been going after him, especially early in the season. Why? It's Nahshon Wright. Why wouldn't you go after him? But the more opportunities he's gotten, whether to intercept the ball or make a play on the ball, whether it's a pass or it's a run, he's been making them. So this kid is you've talked to him, I haven't. Maybe he's a soft-spoken guy, but he's probably he's embraced the challenge. And probably anyone, the more you play, you'd hope the better you get. The more reps you get, and he's getting live game day action reps, and he's taking advantage of it, and he is developing into a good football player. Again, he's going to get a contract, and probably a nice contract after this season, whether it's by the Bears or somebody. But 5 interceptions, and we played 11 games, right? 8-3. And again, you need playmakers. You need the home run hitters. We need more homers. We need sacks. We need forced fumbles. We need picks. And he's been one of the guys who's been delivering it consistently this season.
All right, my final winner from yesterday, I'll go with DJ Moore. DJ Moore has dealt with a lot this season, a bunch of injuries. Every week it seems like he's getting banged up. This body part is hurt. This body part is hurt. But it continuously goes back out there. And the Bears, he showed you that he can still be a key part of this offense, right? He caught 5 passes for 64 yards. His big touchdown was that 25-yard touchdown, which was a great, a great free play. The Steelers were offsides. Bears got the snap off, and Caleb found a wide open DJ Moore for the touchdown. DJ now has 3 touchdowns after his 2 touchdown game yesterday. First time he had multiple touchdowns in a game since week 5 against the Carolina Panthers. But Joe, I feel like there's a lot of stuff out there, in Bears world about do the Bears trade? They wanted to trade DJ Moore before the trade deadline. Do you trade him during this offseason? But I think DJ Moore has proven to you and shown you that he's healthy and he still plays a very, very valuable part in this offense.
Yeah, good pick. And I still think, I love Burton. I'm a Rome fan. But DJ Moore's still your best wide receiver to me anyway. Rome continues to have some issues with drop. He dropped another one yesterday in the third quarter that I thought kind of killed momentum there for the offense a little bit. But DJ, and I forgot he didn't realize he had been stuck on one TV catch up until the first one yesterday. And by the way, all 3, I can't believe we haven't talked about Caleb really at all. But all 3 of those touchdown passes by Caleb, all darts, really good throws on the ball. So kudos to him on that. But DJ Moore, I've said it many times here. I'm a fan. Pound for pound, the guy's as tough as I think there is in the league. Good after the catch, good route runner. And the guy plays hurt, doesn't whine. And I'm a fan of him. I can't, this guy's never been to a Pro Bowl. he might not ever get one because there's so many dang good receivers that pile up monster numbers every year. But he's just a real good football player. And I'm glad he's on the Bears, and I think the Bears are too.
Yeah, and he passed 8,000 career receiving yards in the win on Sunday. So congrats to him, obviously, on a big accomplishment. Some honorable mentions just before we get into the negatives here a little bit. I'm going to give a quick shout out to your guy, Cairo Santos, Joe. Not for the field goals, but for the dirty kicks. He's been playing around with them a little bit, during warmups and at practices. He didn't really bring them out too much. Like, he would do it sometimes, but he didn't do it consistently. But yesterday was the first time that he really brought the dirty kickoff, the knuckleball kickoff, whatever you want to call it, out today. And the Steelers didn't know what to do. Like, the first kickoff that Santos had, the Steelers bobbled it and only returned it to the 5-yard line. There were a couple other kicks, I feel like, where the Steelers had a hard time. So kudos to him, because if Cairo is able to do that consistently and keep returners on their toes, not sure what the ball is going to look like that's an immediate weapon. And field position is obviously a really important factor when it comes to football games.
No, good point. I mean, I didn't know he had that in his bag, honestly. That was great, because look, if you don't have the 98-mile-per-hour fastball, you better be able to throw something really good off speed, or something that guys can swing and miss at. And that's where he is, right? He's not going to boom the 60-yarder. But if he can do this, that is a nice weapon to have. And it was baffling, like a knuckleball would be for whether it's a batter or it's a guy receiving a kickoff. So nice that he could do that. And because especially we've talked too many times this season about the special teams and too many big returns on kickoffs and punts. So that was pleasant, a pleasant surprise yesterday for me.
Robert chiming in, he wants us to give some love to Loveland. You don't really see that guy drop the ball often. I agree with you. I just think, Robert, I think we're just kind of used to that from Loveland at this point. We know he's a very talented player, and he's going to be consistent for you. He had 4 catches for 49 yards. Like, you're getting a lot of value out of that pick. So, I think Loveland had a great game too. Like, he had did he have a touchdown? Blinking out right now. He did have a touchdown yesterday. But I think he's a weapon for you, and he's just consistently proven that over the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, I mentioned him as one of my things that worked yesterday. That relationship with him and Caleb is working. I just want to see a lot more of it. And if you look at, Caleb's still not completing it, to me, enough passes, right? The percentage is not what it should be. But I want to see Loveland targeted a lot more, because he does hang on to the ball. He's a big dude. You can see why they fell in love with the guy and why they picked him at 10. I think he's a total dude. And I just want to see more of him. I want to see more of Bird, which I thought they really established him in the first half. And then for whatever reason, he didn't get the ball in the second half. But I want to see more Loveland. I would just be throwing to that guy, throwing to that guy, throwing to that guy.
All right, Joe, let's get to some negatives here. We can kind of go a little bit faster here, but it obviously wasn't a perfect showing. So what's your first loser from yesterday?
Yeah, I mean, they didn't. I mean, look, they're a fall, or was the illegal formation penalty by the Steelers that took away that long scramble by Rudolph that got him close to field goal position late in the game there. Or we could be singing a different tune today. So I mean, it wasn't a perfect game by any means. So, but negative. Honestly, I think there were more positives. A lot of times we covered wins. We're like, guys, I think there were more negatives than positives, even though they won the game. Yesterday, I think there were more positives than negatives. Negative, maybe Caleb again, just the accuracy. Again, we really haven't talked about him this whole podcast. And second, when he was missing guys, and then there'd be a drop pass, or and then getting body slammed by TJ Watt in the end zone. That's what's going to happen if you keep playing with fire. And he's done a really good job avoiding that so many times with spinning away. And how did he avoid that sack? Oh my goodness. And then he throws it out of bounds or completes the pass. Well, he got burned yesterday because TJ Watt showed you why he's a special player. And that play, now to Caleb's credit, I mean, that could have been a game changer. And Pittsburgh goes off and wins this game by 10 10 points, 2 touchdowns, something like that. But he didn't let it fluster him. And again, he didn't throw any interceptions. 3 TDs, no picks. The one turnover, that was bad. That may have been his worst moment of the season, Caleb. Probably have to think back, right? But
Probably his career.
Yeah, it was just an ugly look. And again, this is what happens. And then when I'm seeing this, I'm thinking, see, you keep getting away with it. And then it's going to take something like this to maybe humble you. And maybe it did. I don't know. But he was better after that. Instead of crumbling, he didn't. And it was just like, it was one play, let's move on. And, he ended up having a pretty decent game. So other than this, the missed passes we're still seeing, it's too many. I must have heard on the broadcast yesterday, J.J. Watt, who did a really good job, I thought, calling the game as the analyst yesterday, saying, he must have said it like 3 or 4 times, boy, he's going to look at the film, he's going to want that one back. Boy, he's going to look at the film, he's going to want that one back. Because there were too many of those throws, which you just hope in time. I hope that's something that can get better, or is this something that's just going to be part of his DNA, part of his deal, whatever you want to call it, with Caleb throughout his career? I don't want to get start thinking like this will never get better, but if he ever gets that better, if he just hits again and gets that completion percentage, it doesn't have to be 70. 70 is a big ass, 70%, but it's got to be better, and he's got to hit those wide open throws.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm kind of tempted, most of what I wrote yesterday from our takeaways and kind of what I'm writing today for what Ben Johnson said today is I wouldn't say that Caleb Williams put up a good performance. He put up 3 touchdowns. He helped the Bears score 31 points. I'm not trying to take that away from him, but there are still bad moments for me. Like that touchdown from TJ Watt, the strip sack, that can't happen no matter what level of quarterback. Like, it doesn't matter whether you're an NFL quarterback, a college quarterback, a high school quarterback, a peewee quarterback. Like, they teach you, just get the ball out of the way, make sure you don't, try to make something. And he had, it's easy for, me to say, sitting here or sitting up in the press box when I get the good view, but like, he had DeAndre Swift waiting for him as a check down. But he didn't hit the check down there. He didn't get the ball out of the end zone. And the inaccuracy, he talked about it, like, there's still some inaccuracy problems. And that's kind of the reason why, he kind of was frustrated after yesterday's game. Like, he was obviously happy to win. He wasn't taking that for granted, but you could tell that he's just frustrated because he knows that he's not playing to his full potential. And it's kind of hurting the teams at times. Like, there were some throws where he overthrew Luther Burden. Ben Johnson said today that that's a ball that needs to go a little bit lower. And I know that, the 70% completion rate is a high mark, but you're not going to succeed as a quarterback if you're hitting 50%. And that's what he's done the last 2 weeks. He was 50% on the money last week, and he was 54.5%, today or, Sunday. So that needs to get fixed. I think Caleb knows that. And that's just, if he's able to unlock that, consistency, I think that'll be a big thing. And, it was interesting because, Ben was asked today about, how do you fix that? Do you like set up some short plays for him to kind of build up some momentum? And, Ben talked about it and he said, yeah, I think you do that for some guys, but he doesn't think that that's a solution for Caleb. He doesn't think that that's something that gets Caleb going. So he didn't really expand much about like what is something that gets Caleb going, but he did say that that's something they'll be working on, because if you can hit 65%, if you get 70%, that's great. But if you're hovering around 65%, that's really what the good quarterbacks do in this league. And he's been hovering around 50% the last few weeks. And that's not consistent enough for you to win games. I know that the Bears have won games. Obviously they have, but again, this could have been a situation where the Bears had an opportunity to put this game away, and they didn't do that because the offense went 3 and out on its last 2 drives. And that's partly because Caleb missed on some throws.
Exactly. Because, Michael, there was a stretch there. That third quarter, I'd have to look at the game again, but I just remember watching and seeing complete pass after pass. I'm thinking, well, this might be the best he's looked all season. He had that stretch going in the third quarter where he was really good throws, getting the ball out quickly, in rhythm, timing, all the things we've talked about, everyone talks about. And then there was that pass that Rome dropped where he worried about getting his feet in. He got him in, and then the guy punches the ball out. And it just seemed like it just killed momentum. But like you said, they had that opportunity to put that game away there in the fourth quarter, and then 3 and out the last 2 drives. So let's let's hope it gets better. And I'm with Ben Johnson about that, because like you can do the screens and remember the Cincinnati game, they do the quick little like almost look like a lateral where the guy's in motion and they toss to him. It's technically a forward pass, well, it's a completion. You can do all those things, but if he's going to get to be where he needs to be, Caleb, you got to do more than that. You can't just be being gimmick throws or whatever, screens to hike that percentage. If you're worried about the stats, and then we all look at them, coaches, players, fans, everybody, media, but he's just got to get better with the accuracy. You hope that can improve. It remains to be seen, I guess.
Yeah, and listen, every quarterback is going to have throws that he wants back, right? Like that's just life. And no quarterback is perfect, and no quarterback is hitting on every throw. But
100%.
it just gets into these ruts sometimes where it just seems like it doesn't click for some reason. And I think that's kind of the reason why he gets so frustrated, because he knows it's kind of on him. Like he knows that he's the reason why those passes aren't clicking. So. And again, if the Bears are able to unlock even that a little bit better, like imagine how great this team could be playing.
Look out.
Moving forward.
Look out.
All
the
right,
weapons are there. The weapons are there in the O-line, as we talked about. They figured that out. They have the weapons. Let's just see the quarterback take it up a notch here and look out.
Some other losers for me, Joe. I know we're kind of nitpicking on 8 of their last 9 wins. So, obviously that's the point of this whole segment. One loser, I had 2 losers in my mind, and they both slipped my mind. So I'll go with the one that I can remember. The running game didn't give you too much yesterday. Yeah, Monongai gave you 48 yards on 12 carries. Caleb gave you 21 yards on 4 carries, 15 yards on 8 carries for DeAndre Swift. The run game didn't give you too much, and obviously I know the Steelers have a good run defense, so maybe that's kind of hard to get swallowed up, but you just didn't get really much out of the run game yesterday, and that's maybe it's just one of those weeks. Sometimes you have to rely on one side or the other, but I didn't really feel like the run game gave you too much.
No, and as I mentioned earlier, so much for my MVP, DeAndre Swift did nothing yesterday. I thought Monongai did fine. I don't have his numbers in front of me, but I thought he did fine.
He still runs hard. Like he knows his role on this team. Like that touchdown, like he'll do that all the time. Like if they're in short yardage situations, they're just going to send Monongai out there, and he's going to pick up those 2 or 3 yards.
He's a tough dude. I mean, and I have no problem giving him the ball on the goal line. Inside the 5-yard line. He's shown like. Maybe not the first time, the second time he's getting yards, and that's the offensive line too. They've been getting a push. How pleasant has that been to see from a Bears O-line? So I thought, but it was just a really quiet ground game. You're right. Yesterday,
another loser I had, and we kind of hit on this with the offense. The Bears. I thought again. Here I was thinking that they're going to put this game away. They took a 10-point lead with just 14 minutes left in the game. But then you let, the Steelers make it a 3-point game, 31-28. And then your offense responds with 2 3-and-outs. That just, for how much that defense kept the Bears in the game, they're depleted. They don't have any starters in their secondary, their linebacking core out there at this point. The offense needs to do a better job of, pulling the weight and helping their team win the game. That is just a situation where I think it's good that Jaquan Brisker got the pass breakup on 4th down to end the game, and Grady Jarrett also did that. Got a pass block at the line of scrimmage, but they shouldn't have been in that situation. The offense can't go 3-and-out on its last 2 drives to give the Steelers a chance to win that game. That just, for me, that is just something that is going to keep the Bears from winning a game against a team like the Steelers or Detroit or the 49ers, right? Like they can get away with this type of stuff against the Steelers and the Giants and the Vikings, but when you're playing against the Eagles, maybe you see the Rams in the playoffs or something like that. Like you got to put teams away, and you can't have 3-and-outs like that.
Yeah, especially because again, they're healthy. The offense is healthy. I mean, everyone played yesterday that you would hope would be playing, whether it was before the week or beginning of the season, except for Benedict. And then that's it. Defense, you got 24 guys out. The offense is like, this is on us. and we got to put this game away. I mean, I hate to be complaining about an offense when they put up 31 points, but you're right. There are points out there. It's okay to score 40, but they needed that one touchdown, even if it was another Cairo Santos field goal to create some more separation on the scoreboard.
Just to waste some clock, right? Like it just felt like you like the defense is fighting tooth and nail on every drive, and then they just go 2-3 and outs. Like that takes gives them no time to recover at all.
And they gave you everything they had yesterday. Like we knew even when they were healthy, probably wasn't going to be a top 5, top 10 defense. Unless some guys really emerged and Odengbo was the guy and that was the right pick. And all of a sudden he fortified the pass rush. And now we got someone to complement Sweat and all that. We knew that was going to be a great defense. Now they're so dang beat up that the offense just got to say, hey, we got you. And they had them, but just barely yesterday.
All right, Joe, any more losers you got from yesterday's game before we move on?
No, I'll give you one more winner, though, the draft class. I mean, when you look at it, we were on it early. I was anyway. So not a negative, but a positive. Just when you look at the contributions, Loveland is turning into a beast. Burton's look good. Trapillo, boy, that was encouraging. Manungai, who am I missing here? I missed another draft pick. Turner's out. We know that.
Ruben Hippolyte made a little bit of an impact before he got injured on that that shoulder.
So the draft class, and we figured, I mean, it's typically not one game and they're all pro guys. So it takes time, but they're getting contributions from this 2025 draft class. And this franchise and the GM, even though I know his contract, he'll be here forever, he needed that too. And so that's another good sign. It's been trending in a positive direction with this draft class.
I want to hit on some questions and comments in here. Daniel Sniden joining us from Facebook. Will the defense get better this year? It can only go up from here, right? I mean, at this point, and that's not a shot at them. It's just like they're injured as heck. Like we'll see what the situation is with Jalen Johnson and Kyler Gordon. I think if you get those two guys back, that is huge, right? Like you're already getting big playmaking from that secondary, but Jalen Johnson and what you can do with Kyler Gordon, right? Even if you have they placed Tremaine Edmonds on injured reserve on Saturday, so he's going to miss the next 3 games after he missed yesterday's game. Even if you get TJ Edwards back and maybe Noah Sewell, I thought they did pretty well with Dime yesterday, and that's a big credit to Dennis Allen. Yep. Listen, maybe if you get Kyler Gordon back there, maybe you're sending both Kyler Gordon and CJ Gardner-Johnson on blitzes, right? And then you can drop back Brisker on coverage, or maybe you put Brisker and you could do a lot of different combinations with those two guys coming back in there, especially since Jalen is such a lockdown corner on the outside. And then you can move Kyler around, whether that's in pass coverage or whether that's as a pass rusher. So, I feel like the answer to that is yes, and I think that has to be really encouraging, right? Like the Bears are finding ways to win these games with an injury depleted defense, and I think that has to be really encouraging, especially if Jalen and Kyler are able to get back on Friday.
Yeah, they'll get better defensively. It's got to be the right guys coming back, though. Like you mentioned, it's got to be Gordon, it's got to be Johnson, it's got to be TJ Edwards, and if they can get Edmonds back for the final, the Bears have 6 left, right? 6 games left now. They're 8-3.
Yeah,
if you can get him back for December, basically, that's how you can get better.
Yeah, that has to be it. Robert chiming in. He never heard of a duck snort before, which I don't know if that's something that kind of passes through. But yes, for a moment there, I thought that I was making something up, or I was doing something. I am known to make up or mess up phrases, so I'm glad that I got that one correct there.
Yeah, that's like Ken Harrelson, Hawk Harrelson, a little duck snort.
Yeah, all the time.
A little,
That's definitely where I learned
it from. It kind of hit in baseball.
All right, hitting on some other stuff. So yeah, our Bears are not practicing today. They're going to be doing 2 walkthroughs today. I think they're just meeting. We're going to talk to some players here in an hour and a half, so we'll hear from them. Ben Johnson talked this morning. Joe, obviously, we'll. For those asking, we will be doing a podcast or live stream on Wednesday morning at 9 a.m. So make sure you guys join us, and we'll preview Friday's game against the Eagles. But I think the big thing we're looking for this week, Joe, is are Jalen Johnson and Kyler Gordon coming back, and what are they doing with that defense? Because if you get if you get even one of those guys back, right? Like I think that's such an impactful thing where they'll obviously be on snap limits. I'm sure they're going to kind of ease their way back, and especially since the Bears do have a talented depth in the secondary, you can kind of afford to do that. But getting Jalen Johnson back and Kyler Gordon both are either for Friday's game against an Eagles team that's going to be really upset. I think you have to be really encouraged by that.
Yeah, you have a better pulse on it than I do. I wouldn't think if they weren't ready for yesterday, going at 5 days later probably is a no. Also, then give them that extra day, that weekend to heal up for the following weeks. Then you got it's the Packers coming to Chicago. Is that right? Do I got my timeline right? Or
it's at Green Bay.
Pardon?
It's at Green Bay.
Yeah, right. So that's after the Philly game.
Yeah.
Yeah. So okay. So that's what I would be aiming to. I'd love to see them back on the field Friday, but I don't know. That's a tough against Philly. I'm thinking just a gut feeling, educated guess that they don't play Friday, but we'll see here and soon.
Rick chiming in, do they have to be activated by Thursday to the 53-man roster at 3 p.m.? Yes. The Thursday 3 p.m. deadline is going to be when the Bears would have to activate either or both Kyler Gordon and Jalen Johnson. So that's something I would assume that if they do it, they will do it at that time because they don't want to give the Eagles as much notice as possible. So I would assume that that is something, if they do it, you would make sure you check out my social media because I'll probably be sending a story out on Thanksgiving about them being activated. All right, Joe, before we say goodbye, let's just we have to start doing this now every week. Quick look at the playoffs. Bears are still atop of the NFC North with an 8-3 record. Green Bay won last week in commanding fashion against the Vikings. Yikes, J.J. McCarthy. He's dealing with a concussion, though, so I'm wishing all the best to him. Bears thought they got a big break almost with Detroit and the New York Giants going into into overtime, but the Giants blew another 10-point lead and Detroit won. So, Joe, the Bears are 8-3 at the top of the NFC North, and currently, as of this morning, they are the number 3 seed in the playoffs.
Insane. No one had this. No one had that at 8-3. But here you are, and we keep talking about the magical 10-win mark. 6 games left. Detroit, twice with the Packers. Philly, who are the Niners, right?
Niners and Detroit.
Detroit, yeah, right? Yeah, 3 against the NFC North. So they're right there. But again, even Cleveland, how about Shador winning yesterday? And Myles Garrett, my goodness. He's having an incredible year. He's en route to shatter the single-season sack record. So, for the Bears, they're certainly, even if they were like dominating teams, it's the NFL. And their losses, everyone knows this, whether you play in a confidence pool or the office play, everyone knows there are no easy games to pick ever. But the Bears have 6 left. And they're all going to be dogfights because that's the way the Bears play football, especially the Bears this year. But they're right there, and all of a sudden, you're thinking a playoff berth. You could win the division. I mean, it's there for you, and
it's definitely there.
Pardon?
It's definitely there.
It's there, and they're not just thinking, "Hey, guys, we just have to win 2 more games the rest of the year." They're not thinking that. I guarantee, as a coaching staff, and certainly the players. Because the more they win, just like anything, right? The more you win, the more confident you get, the more you start to believe. And that does matter. So let's just hope the Bears, if you're a Bears fan, that keeps going. And we'll see. We'll have to shape up this Philly game on Wednesday. But they're in a great spot. And again, there's really no pressure on them. You'd hate to go on a stinker run of like 3 losses in a row or 4 losses in a row. But no, there are no expectations on this team, not nationally. Bears fans were excited, right? But, no one expected the Bears to be here.
Yeah, I mean, they're playing with house money at this point, right? Like they're 8-3, they're at the top of the division. Like they're dealing with a bunch of injuries, but somehow doing this. But yeah, at this point, for the Bears, they're trying to win every week. They're trying to go 1-0, all that kind of stuff. For Bears fans, you're probably looking for 2 wins, right? Like 3 wins, you would feel something would have to go astronomically wrong for you, or insane in the NFC for you not to make the playoffs with 11 wins. But I think for most Bears fans, you're looking at a 10-win season. And, I know you obviously don't want to lose 4 of your last 2 games heading into the playoffs, but at this point, you're just trying to get in, right? Like, you're just trying to get into the playoffs. That's really what the goal was for this season. I think everyone at the beginning of the year, if you told them that they were 9 or 10 and what is that, 10-7 and or even 11-6, you would lose your mind. You'd be so happy. But obviously that changes once the playoffs or once the season starts and expectations kind of change. So it'll be really interesting to see what this final 6-game stretch looks like and whether do they win 2 games? Do they win 3? Or does this kind of reveal who the Bears are when they kind of play these tougher teams here in this 6-game stretch?
Yeah, no, they've proven they're a good football team. You have to give that to them. At 8-3, you are a good football team, and I don't think that'll just disappear in 1 or 2 games, even if they turn out bad. Let's hope they don't get blown out by 30 by anybody here. But they've earned this 8-3 mark. That's to me, that's indisputable.
All right, guys, that's everything that we got for this Monday afternoon. Hope you guys enjoyed the live stream. We enjoyed all the comments. Great to hear from all you guys. Appreciate all the questions, comments, thoughts, questions about phrases and all that kind of stuff. It was good to hear from all you guys on this Monday afternoon. Make sure you give us a like while you're here, whether you're joining us live or watching our video later on, and subscribe. That's the best way to support us. And that also lets you know when we'll be doing live streaming. If you're joining us on the podcast, thank you so much for listening there. Make sure you subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts, and make sure you're doing that and checking in with our social medias. We'll be talking on Wednesday at 9 a.m. Until then, have a good next couple of weeks, good holiday week, and we will talk to you folks on Wednesday morning.